Okay, hi there. Howdy Hoopers. Welcome everybody. And I am Shay Revenger of Hip the Hoopla, and this is the Hoop Love Y'all show. If you see my eyes darting other places, I'm going to try and read the live feed. If you want to type in questions, I'm live on Facebook and on YouTube right now. So, but the area where I can see questions is if you're on Facebook. So you're welcome to comment on YouTube as well. I may not get to those questions tonight, so I'll see them, but I won't get to them on the live feed. But anyway, thank you so much. Joan joined us, and I've got a special shout out tonight to our Fab 40 group and Stuart and Catherine. I'm going to address some of the things we were chatting about in our Fab over 40 hoop community today, and go over some things like that. So, what is the Hoop Love Y'all show? If you haven't been with me before, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And what it is health, humor, and hooping. So hooping, all the hoops over there. And I might have to adjust the cameras tonight, so apologies in advance. So Dad, if you're reading along the TED Talks book, it's not going to be the perfect show, but that's okay because life isn't perfect. So anyway, but I may have to adjust so that you see just my lower half hooping. So anyway, tonight's theme is pro tips. So pro tips, what do you mean? What are you asking pro tips for? So pro tips, sometimes you need to bring in a pro. And I have 3 suggestions on this as I'll cover tonight. One is when do you hire a pro? There's 3 different time periods that you can do that. One is before you need one, during when you need one, or after when you've already messed it up. So just think of a plumbing repair if you need to. But when you need to call in a pro is when you need to shortcut the learning process. So for instance, what were my examples? There's certain things like hooping. When I first started hooping, for example, I was just doing it on my own. I had no intentions to perform, to do anything. It was just for myself. I was just enjoying it, all that kind of good stuff. So, but as I didn't even find YouTube videos at that time. I got DVDs from the library. That's how old school. I've been hooping for 10 years, since 2008. So, but anyway, yeah, I was doing that, getting the DVDs from the library and getting some good information that way. Now we have just a plethora of information. We have lots of social media platforms. There's lots of people putting out tutorials on one of them. If you ever have some moves that you want me to cover, obviously I can help you personally, but I can also, it can be something that I cover for one of my 1-minute Tuesday tutorials that I post up on Instagram. One of these days I'll get them over to Facebook, YouTube as well. So, because I've got a plethora of them and they need to be organized a little bit better. I'll also have like a thing on my web page where you can, you don't have to hunt and peck and stuff like that. Like you can find something like, oh, chest tubing. Right in this instance, I want to know chest tubing and I want to learn it in a minute. Okay, doesn't mean you're going to get it in a minute. So, but I have some tips that will help you get it quicker rather than just trying to beat your head against the wall. That's one of the reasons why, you call in a pro. Like I said, you could beat your head against the wall for a while, but you could also just, call in a pro. Now, here's a caveat to calling in a pro. So when you call in a pro, I have a quote that I use all the time. It's my own quote, but is just because someone claims to be a pro doesn't mean that they're good at their job. It just means they get money for it. Okay, and I'm sure we've all experienced this. We hired a garbage service, for instance. Boy, they couldn't find their butt with both hands. And I add to that with a map in the in broad daylight with glasses on. Yeah, so but they collected our money just fine. So that's one of those things to be aware of. So you want to try and when you're finding a pro, try and get some recommendations. Ask friends. Go to groups that are trustworthy. referral services, such like that. Usually the pros are established, they're well known, they've earned a good reputation, and they've spent time doing it. And it doesn't mean they don't have any bad reviews. So, not everybody likes everything. So, I have a couple of bad reviews out there too. I've tried to address them, but, overall, I probably have a 99.5%, success rate and, people being happy with, learning or whatever. But, that you can't please everybody. So there are things, and also we all have days that not everything works. So even a good pro might have days where they're not hitting all the marks on their job. So it doesn't mean they're not good, but, we all have days like that. So do, give somebody a little bit of slack when you're hiring your pros. So anyway, alrighty. Second thing of hiring a pro is right tool for the right job. Okay, I've had a couple conversations with people lately. I do a complimentary hoop consultation. So what I do with this is I use the years and years of experience that I have, that I've gained through spending lots of money and lots of time and lots of energy and lots of brain cells trying to figure it out myself. And I try and impart this information in a quick manner and shortcut the learning curve for people so that they can get some of the basics, and even, depending on what their levels and needs are, they might be able to get some higher level tips as well to, when I do the hoop consultation. So, for instance, I didn't know any better when I first started hooping. And so I got toy store hoops. I didn't know any better. I didn't know they were crappy hoops. They used crappy inferior materials, that they would break easily, that they were too light for what I needed them for, which predominantly was waist hooping. So when I say the right tool for the right job, it's kind of like a hammer versus a screwdriver. They are both tools that you can literally put in your toolbox, but they serve completely different functions. So a hammer will hammer in a nail. A screwdriver will not hammer in a nail very well. And vice versa, a hammer will not drive in a screw properly. So those, you have different needs for what you're using, so different tools. So again, the same example for hoop sizes. So for instance, when I was having these conversations with my people that are coming in as my clients, a lot of people think that you need a certain size hoop, and again, this is an example for a right tool for the right job. So they think, because a lot of hoop makers say, your hoop needs to be up to your belly button. Well, I can demonstrate for you that that is not necessarily true. It depends on what you are doing with it. So for instance, this does not come up to my belly button. This comes up to below my crotch, okay? So, yes, above my knees. Let's put it that way. That's a nicer way to put that. But I can do a lot of things with this hoop, and I've worked my way to this. So this wouldn't have been the place that I started if I wanted a waist hoop, because this was very small and very light. This is professional grade tubing, just FYI, and it's a thinner tubing. But, so for instance, I might have wanted to use something. Now here's a good example. I just made a bunch of hoops for things that glow. Some of these are taped, actually none of these are taped, but some of them will get taped. But for instance, this is a pretty springy hoop and is pretty thin. This is a heavier tubing. This is heavier yet. This is 1/2 inch. This is 3/4 inch PE tubing. This is, I think that's an HDPE tubing, pretty and light. And this is a really small hoop. Now somebody's going to really dig this hoop. It's a UV pearlescent hoop and all that kind of stuff. But, maybe a beginner hooper, if they tried this, like if you were a 3-year-old, this little bright UV orange hoop would be awesome. But to start waist tubing with for an adult, this might be your miserable downfall that wouldn't make you happy at all. But for instance, I went to a memory care unit and I brought hoops in, and I actually gave people like this size hoop. Now these are people that have mental function issues, and their brain capabilities are such that you know, and their motor function skills as well. So they were able to take something small and just take it on their hand and just kind of wing it around their hand or play with it. And they were all seated or in wheelchairs. And so a small hoop was really great for their needs, right? So, but for instance, a beginner might really dig on a 3/4 inch tubing. That might be, some people call these weighted hoops. I do not call them weighted hoops. I don't think that you need to use weight and add weight to a hoop. You can just use the weight of the tubing and or the tape. Tape adds a little bit of weight, but it's pretty minuscule, and depending on if you tape a lot. When I first started out, I bought a really cheap toy store hoop, again, not knowing, and I couldn't keep it up on my waist to save my life, even though I had gone to a hoop workshop. And so I was able to use the hoops in that hoop workshop. I did not have the concept, I didn't notice that she used bigger hoops, bigger, heavier hoops. And I was able to get that. And also I had a good instructor, so I went to a pro, and she taught me, she shortcutted all the moves so that I learned in a 2-hour workshop what it might have taken me a year to learn on my own, hunting and pecking and hacking at various things to try and get what the knowledge that I was looking for. So anyway, I had gotten that beginning small kids toy store hoop, and I taped the living daylights out of it. So one of the reasons was to make it heavier, but it also added a little bit of grip. And I just used, I don't know how many tape. I must have used like 5 rolls of vinyl tape, like electrical tape on this. And it did add some weight, and it did help, but it was still too small of a hoop, and it was still a crappy hoop. So, so what is it? You can't put lipstick on a pig because it's still a pig. But anyway, I not like that saying. But anyway, you understand the concept that even if you put pretty tape on a hoop, which I have done before on a cheap hoop, when I didn't have all the tubing I needed. So, in a pinch, I went out and got cheap hoops. But generally speaking, if you can invest in something quality. Again, go to what your needs are. So right tool for the right job. If you're handing, like, this might be, for instance, like a $40 or $40 hoop, depending on, for, I don't know, maybe, I don't have my price sheet in front of me, but anywhere from a $30 to $40 hoop, something like that. So, that might seem a little bit pricey. So maybe don't give this one to a 3-year-old to play with. But if you're an advanced hooper, intermediate or advanced, then this might be a great investment for you. So right tool for the right job, because you're going to take care of it, and you're going to play with it nicely, and you're going to store it nicely so the tubing doesn't bend and get chewed up by the dog and all that kind of stuff, and live outside and just get warped, and you're going to treat it with some love and respect as an adult. So, but for a 3-year-old, yeah, go to the dollar store and get a dollar hoop, and use that, or go to the hardware store and get the tubing and make your own. There's videos on YouTube to do that. You'll understand that it may or may not be the easiest thing to do. Of course, you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. Of course, I've self-learned a lot of things too. My husband wonders why sometimes I still go to workshops and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know everything. And, my voice is low after something. Okay, good to know. I will try and hopefully this is better. Ollie, thank you for that. I just read one of the comments on here. Hopefully the volume is better. I thought I was talking loud. I usually get told to be quiet, so because I'm a little too loud. But anyway, hopefully my volume is a little bit better. So thumbs up to Ollie. Thank you for that notice. So again, right tool for the right job, and try out different things. So yeah, when we were talking about the weighted hoops, this is great for on-body waist hooping. But for instance, this one, like what I've gone to hoop workshops that work on twins or multis or a lot of things that are on the hands. Well, the hands have a lot of bones and ligaments and tendons in there. So using a PE hoop, I actually had PE hoops that I was using, even 1/2-inch ones. Doesn't seem like it's very heavy until you're rolling it on your hand for an hour or two, and then it starts to really hurt. So for me, for that application, a smaller, lighter hoop would have been a better bet. And so, yes, they are smaller and lighter, so they fly faster. So when you lose them, when you throw them across the room, they really fly. But again, right tool for the right job. So the last thing, let's see here. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, along with that analogy of the right tool for the right job is like foods. You know, I cover health and humor and hooping in here, and when you're fueling your body. You know, if you're going to go for the Twinkie or the sugar-laden processed food thing, how is that going to fuel your body as compared with an organic apple? You know, you have different things. Both are going to fuel your body and give you some sustenance, but they may not give you a sustained energy level. So you combine the, you know, like the apple with a little bit of nut butter or something like that, like a cashew butter or almond butter or, you know, even peanut butter or whatever, you know, and leave out the sugar, and then you have a natural energy that goes in. Same thing with fueling your car. You can buy really cheap stuff and it'll let your car run, but over time the parts are going to wear differently because you haven't given, you know, when you spend the money to do a premium fuel, your car will run better. So, I mean, obviously, you know, budget is a concern for all of us, so you do have to go with what your budget is. You know, when I say, you know, try and improve your choices, every one choice that you come up to, try and make a better choice. So, yes, the first purchase may be a dollar store hoop, or maybe a cheap gas, or maybe a used car, or whatever the case may be. But then the next choice you get, or it, you know, or let's see here, I don't know, a Lunchable snack. Let's see, for instance, you know, so yes, it's food, but whatever. But then the next choice you make, maybe you go for, you know, an apple, and it's not organic. That's okay, but it's still a better choice than the Lunchable snack because it's not processed. So even if it may have pesticides on it, you know, you can, you know, go berserk trying to micromanage everything possible that there could be if it's fairly traded and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, of course, those are important things of which to make decisions with, but every next decision, make a little bit better decision. You know, when you go to change your toothpaste, you know, buy a little bit better brand. You know, research out those major ones and find out that they're not the greatest ones that you want to be using, and why you may want to get fluoride out of there, and why that may be an important thing for you. So for me, for instance, I switched over my cosmetics to natural cosmetics. And this was before I even had the skin cancer issue, which, you know, if you want to know about all of that, go back to previous shows recently, and you can go through that. It's doing much better now. So after I got it all cut out, but I've changed diet, I've done a lot of different things. But for instance, I learned that cheap sunscreen has a bunch of chemicals in it that actually cause skin cancer. Who knew? I did not know that. But one of my favorite Maya Angelou quotes is, when you know better, you do better. So when you do get better information, then you can go accordingly. We all make the best decisions we can at the time with the information that we have. So, you know, when we're younger, we may have like this stuff that we decide on. We get a little bit older, we make different decisions. We get a little bit older. Hopefully we're a little bit wiser and make a little bit better decisions based on experience and based on, you know, when you decide where do you want to spend your money, yeah, maybe organic food is an expensive thing. Maybe natural cosmetics, yeah, they're pricey. So I made the decision to change over in a year. I gave myself a year, and so each thing that I made, I changed out one thing. So for instance, mascara, the next month would be an eyeshadow, and it didn't always happen. You know, I didn't always get to change over stuff. It's still expensive. You know, it might be $20-$30. So you know, I also learned how to make some of my own. So there's different options of how to do things to still make better decisions and better choices, so that you can still upgrade your life in doing that. So, and get your life up to pro status. So, also, number 3 on the pro tips. So number 3, I'm going to put these hoops over on the side here. So, Number 3 is a pro is not a miracle worker. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So you still have to do the work. You still have to practice, maintain, or know about it. So what do I mean by that? My dad used the example of when I got to drive a car, he said, you need to know how to change the oil. And I'm like, why? You know, I just thought oil just magically like did its own thing, and you know, I didn't understand that you need to change oil in the car to keep the car operating and maintained and well functioning. So he said, you need to know how to, you know, he goes, you may hire this out, you may take it to Jiffy Lube or you know wherever and have somebody else change the oil, but you need to know where the oil goes, you know how they change it, and that way when you go in. And I've actually had this happen to me with the oil where, you know, somebody doesn't put the oil cap on and you have a leak, and then you might know why. And so you have a little bit of knowledge to help other pros do their job properly. Like, remember when I said not all pros do their job well on any given Sunday? So, yeah. So same thing with accounting. I did not like accounting in school. It took me 3 times to try and get through it in college. And I needed it to graduate with my business minor. I started out as a business major, but I needed it to complete my minor. And so, seriously, 3 times it took me. I had overload, you know, there's lots of excuses, overloaded course schedule, whatever. Anyway, the 3rd time I got through it, and it wasn't fun, and I didn't like it, but I got through it. And I don't know how, but I got through it with a C, which, and it didn't screw up my whole grade point average, and I still graduated with honors and all that stuff. So, but anyway, why would accounting be an important thing to know? Again, because you need to know about it. So, for instance, when you do your taxes, which everybody, when they become an adult, you know, you have to play this game. We have to file our taxes. You know, I guess you don't have to, but there's repercussions to that. So if you file it and play the game nicely, you may hand over all your stuff to an accountant. The accountant does your taxes, but ultimately, who is still responsible for all of those numbers is you. So when you hand that in, the IRS or whatever your governing sanctioned place that takes your money is that, you know, they say you're responsible. They don't go after the accountant. Your name is on it. You sign it. So, you know, although you don't have to be an accounting expert, you need to kind of know how to look at the numbers and know when something doesn't feel right, look right, is not adding up, all that kind of stuff. So same thing. And, you know, when I say a pro is not a miracle worker, let's say in the case of hooping, for instance, I've gone to workshops. I've learned from some of the best, most brilliant instructors in the world. And a lot of them are my friends. They're pros like myself. So we can teach each other all different things. If I don't practice that stuff, it's not in my toolbox, okay? So same thing with everything. I always recommend with my students that, you know, after my classes or my workshops, that they write things down. Have your hoop notebook handy, write it down, take a summary video, but also go over that stuff. So take a few minutes, write it down. So like 5 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes over from an hour workshop or whatever. Obviously, if you're at a class or something like that stays long, you're taking notes the whole time, just go back and review the notes, which I am guilty of not doing. So, but I find when I actually do what I recommend to other people, it really works. This is why I recommend it. So, again, humor part of the show, because I can be as much of an idiot as the next person. So, meaning I don't take my own advice either. So, anyway, so again, pro is not a miracle worker. You still have to either practice, know about that thing, or maintain it. So, you know, let's say you have an organizer come in and they organize your whole space, or you come in, you go and do a diet, and you lose a whole bunch of weight. If you don't maintain what had been done to make everything nice and clear, or weight loss or strong or whatever, you know, use it or lose it. So you have to maintain that stuff. So there's some effort that takes. So, eating one strawberry is good. Eating strawberries each week is great. Eating strawberries over the year and years is even better because it'll make you happier, happier and healthier. Drinking water is a prime example of that, when you drink more water. So, yeah, speaking of which, this isn't water, but it's my tea, and it's my saying for the day. So this says, I'm a professional, do not try this at home. This is a lovely little mug courtesy of my dad, John Rippinger. So cheers to Dad, where's Waldo in the world. He just got back from, I don't know, traversing Europe, and who goes to an IndyCar race in Monte Carlo? Apparently my dad. So anyway, we just got back from Chicago visiting my 96-year-old grandma and grandpa, who are not only both still alive, but very much still with it. And even though their bodies are, breaking down a little bit physically, they're mentally very sharp. And 96 for, whoa, that's pretty amazing. 96 and married for 72 years. Now, if that's not a wonder, I don't know what is. But anyway, we just got back from Chicago, so that's my exciting world jetting trip. I have jetted the world a couple of times, but not anything like my dad. But anyway, we all have different needs. It's like different hoop sizes, you have different hoop sizes for different needs. So anyway, oh, by the way, the I'm a professional, do not try this at home. Yeah, I'm at my home office, my home studio here. And so you can try this at home. You can. And by the way, this is tea. It's not alcohol or anything like that, but it's pretty darn good. Anyway, and it keeps my vocal cords going good, so I can still speak. Okay, so let's get on to the hooping portion here. Now, again, I may have to adjust the cameras. And this is a move. These are some pro tips. So for leg hooping. So I wore this little skirt today. And let's see here, which camera? It needs to go down a little bit. So I'm going to try and dunk these down a little bit. Okay. So, and I will dunk down and then I will dunk up. So dunk. Huh? Right, yeah, right. Okay, so that will be good. Okay, Kitty, watch out. I'm going to run the chair right by you. For all of you guys who've been with me before, you know that sometimes I have some pet cameos. This is Capri, and she likes to get in the shots for hooping and doesn't understand when she gets all ticked off when she gets hit with the hoop, but she likes to be right in there next to a moving hoop. I don't know why. Okay, so let's put you on the chair and put you in the safety zone here. So with the hooping, now let's see here if this one will work. Okay, so for leg hooping, oh look at that, we got the little cameo here. So for leg hooping, this is what I call one of my arch nemesis moves. So in other words, this took me a year to get, and a lot of frustration and a lot of swear words. I use a happy hoop glee word because it's better when you go to the park and you drop your hoop and you say something nice and positive as opposed to a swear word. So I call it the happy hoop glee word as opposed to using expletives or foul language. So what you're going to be doing, leg hooping, there's several ways to do it. This is one of the ways that I found that finally, after a year of people trying to explain it to me, that it worked. And this was from a Luna Breeze workshop. I always like to credit the source if I didn't come up with it myself, and if I remember who I learned it from, because sometimes a bunch of people teach the same thing. But anyway, she was doing a multi-hoops workshop, and she said, just get the knees, both of them going at the same time. And one of the reasons, because it was a multi-hoop workshop, is that you can move and keep the legs together almost like you have a rubber band around the knees. And again, this is one way to do it. You can also do it with one pusher leg, a front pusher leg, a back pusher leg, and you can do both of those at the same time. That's another variation. But for all intents and purposes, the hooping right now, we're going to try this on the legs, and we're going to get this, and it's going to go really fast because it's on the legs, right? So, and I call this leg hooping, not knee hooping. This is a pro tip. So This part right here, I call this tender vittles for a reason, because there's a lot of tendons and ligaments around there. So be really nice and gentle and careful with that. If you are using one of these bigger, heavier hoops, like I mentioned before, you're going to need to go even gentler on this, because the that's going to be, especially if it goes around the knees, that's going to be a lot of pressure on the knees, and it can damage and hurt your knees and bruise as well. So what we're going to do, give this good bounce, 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 bounce. It's going to need to be consistent and really fast. So I'm going to take this and just spin this, and I'm going to turn in the direction that my hoop is going. So for instance, my hoop is going this way, clockwise, to my right. Woohoo! That's my happy hoop glee word. So when you hear that hoop drop. Now if I go to the left, same thing. I'm going to do that quick beat, beat, beat. I'm going to hike my skirt up just a touch. It's a mini skirt. I was trying to be cutesy, and I have like little booty shorts on. I thought, oh, that's a little bit much for the camera. I didn't used to wear, let's see here, for like 20 years, I did not wear skirts. I wore shorts a little bit, but I didn't wear skirts or dresses. And so, and then after my mom passed, she had all these mini skirts. But after I started belly dancing and then hooping, I don't know, I became more body confident. And so, do I have perfect legs? No, I have like veins and, bruises and, all that kind of stuff. So if you have body image issues or whatever, some of this stuff will come through time of just getting confident with yourself. So don't worry about it. But when you're doing the leg hooping, it does help to have bare legs, because the hoop will stick better. This is a non-taped hoop. I highly recommend getting a taped hoop that is taped on the inside or lined with grip tape, because I was looking for one on the wall here. I don't see one handy that is lined. I have a ton more in the living room, and I didn't grab all of the possible potential hoop options. But anyway, you're going to get this going. Now, one of the questions that was in the group is how to get the hoop up. So gravity works on getting the hoop down. All you have to do is slow down and the hoop goes down. So if you stop moving, the hoop does too. The hoop will just go down, right? So if you want to, you're going to have to speed up the hoop to get it up the body. But not only do you have to speed it up, but you need to get a little bump up. So that can come in the form of bumping the leg up. Okay, I'm going to hike the skirt up a little bit. I do have shorts on underneath here. Okay, so getting a little bump up with the leg. And I like to bump up with, okay, so if, for instance, if my hoop is going to the right, then I'm going to bump with my right leg to get that up, because that's comfortable for me. But if you hoop to the left, or if I always encourage you to hoop in both directions for a lot of reasons. But if you're hooping to the left, you can use the left leg to bump it up, and it's a quick little thunk, little bump, little bump, little bump, and it's quick, fast, and small too. It's not like you're not lifting the leg up really high to do that. So you're just doing a little bump to get that up. And you see that the hoop goes up a little bit. Now there's something that comes, now this is a little harder, so a lot harder. Otherwise I would have known this, I would have been able to do this a lot better, and it wouldn't have taken me a year to learn leg hooping. But you're going to also, this was explained to me by a friend of mine, Natalie Francoise. I'm probably mispronouncing her last name, but anyway, I like saying it that way. But it was so cute watching her do that. She said there's a little shimmy up, so the hips go up, down, up, down, up, down, and the hoop is going to ladder up the legs. Again, bare legs really help, or grip tape in the hoop, and a bigger hoop, a bigger, heavier hoop. But do leg hooping in just a little bit, okay? So a little bit at a time, then do a little bit more, a little bit more. Otherwise, you can have some bruising. So until you get it, and things get strong, solid, all that kind of good stuff. So you're going to get that speed going, beat, 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 beat. Get a little leg bump in there, and then you can also get a little speed wind up, so you can give a little what I call a hip wind up. So you're going to make a little contact with this, and then you're going to also give that little shimmy. So there's a lot going on to get this to work, right? So, okay, I'm going to try and demonstrate here. I'm going to give it a little bump, and then I'm going to shimmy and get that up. So, this is going to take a lot of work. So, that's already, you know, like, not quite, but, yeah, all I have to do is like 3 of those, and I'll be, and also if I'm using a smaller hoop, I have to do that much faster. So again, when you're using a bigger, heavier hoop, your hoop is going to rotate slower so you have more time to execute the moves. Again, these are all pro tips that I teach because I want you to be able to get it faster than I did. So yeah, you may be able to get this in 10 minutes, and for that I say, darn it, I'm jealous because it took me a year to get this. But again, this is why you go to a pro, to shortcut your learning process. So again, with this, get that little beat going, get that leg bump up, get the little wind up. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And then, and also you may be needing to do this a little bit more and get that shimmy going. So all 4 of those things. So leg beat, leg bump, speed wind up, shimmy, 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 shimmy. And then, miraculously, it might be back up at your waist. Then you got to still keep on moving. Remember that maintenance thing that I said? So, as you saw, I just slowed down on that, and the hoop was going down. I have to do it all over again. And when I take my feet wide, then my posture's all off. So make sure your posture is nice and lifted. So, one of those pro tips that I like to say is, because if your posture is nice and lifted, if you have good posture while you're hooping, you'll be able to hoop more and better for longer for the choice that you want to make, instead of getting injured, and that's no fun, getting injured. So maybe you want to hoop and join the Fab 40 group if you're in your 20s or whatever, and you aren't even eligible to join our group yet. It's a beautiful group on Facebook. So yeah, take care of your body so that you can hoop for as long as you want, or do whatever you want. You know, if you have kids, so you can play with your kids, babysit kids, play with your grandkids, great-grandkids, whatever the case may be, or your pets. Isn't she cute? Yeah. So anyway, all right. I do try and keep this around a half an hour. Sometimes I'm there, and sometimes I'm not. Today I'm a little longer on the timing. But hopefully have given you some good information. You've gotten some good hooping tips, some good health tips, and some good, health, humor, and hooping. You know, that's what I'm all about here with the Hoop Love Y'all show. So, I am Shay Rippinger of Hip the Hoopla. And again, I do custom hoops. You probably all know about that. And a complimentary hoop consultation. So, you know, take advantage of that if you like to. You're welcome to connect and ask me questions on social media, or connect with me directly. Email's not my best, but texting and messaging me on Facebook is pretty darn good, and I can get those messages that way. So, alrighty, thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. Ooh, yes, isn't that pretty? Okay, so this is my pendant that sometimes you see me wear, and it's, somebody asked me about this the other day. I don't actually have a lot of people ask me this, because they just think because when it sits here, it can just look like this disc, whatever, but it's a holographic image of an angel. And as I've explained, sometimes this is from my mom, and so I wear it in remembrance of her. Plus it looks just cool, and it's a great hooping thing, and I can hoop with it because it's flat. So I love this. So anyway, alrighty, from me and little Miss Kitty Capri, yeah, happy hooping to everybody. In good health and humor and all that kind of good stuff. Thank you so much. Rock on. Peace out. Everybody have a good night. I will try and respond if there's any extra comments in here. And again, join us on Monday nights at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, and wherever you are in the world. And thank you for joining either on the live recording or the live show or the recording. So thanks so much. Rock on. Peace out. Bye.